I decided I couldn't resist, and I drove that fire truck right across their front lawns. And I drove through all their flower beds, stirring up, ripping up all the flowers, mud going up in every direction. There's all the mud splashed, because it had been raining, son. So all the mud was wet. So all that mud splashed up, right across their front windows, right across all their cars, making everything dirty. Which I found rather amusing, and I started to laugh. I started to laugh a bit too much, and I started choking. I started choking on my own spit because I was laughing so much. And then because I was choking, I kind of had my eyes closed. I was choking. And I lost control of the wheel. And I drove right through someone's front. I drove right through the front of someone's house. Right into their lounge living room. And I destroyed everything in front of their house, and then I started to hear this rumble. So, because these houses, they weren't very well made. They were really poorly constructed. And I heard this rumble all around me. I thought, oh God, son, what's going to happen next? So I tried to reverse the truck, but it wouldn't work. The wheels were jammed. They were jammed on something. I didn't know what. The wheels were jammed on something, but I didn't know what. So I jumped out of that truck, and I noticed the house was all starting to shake. It was all shaking and rumbling. So I ran back out. I ran back out into the street, and the whole of that house just collapsed. It all collapsed in on itself onto that truck, and then suddenly the gas main blew, and then suddenly there was a fire, son. And then the next two houses either side, they caught fire too, and then they blew up. It just was in this massive explosion, and suddenly all the houses in the street, it was all a raging inferno, son. I thought someone better call the fire department and get the fire truck here. Then I remembered I just drove that fire truck into the house, and it's on fire itself, so there is no fire truck, son. And as this town is in the middle of nowhere, goddamn nowhere, son, and there's no other town for miles and miles and miles, it meant there was no fire truck either for miles and miles and miles. There's no way of putting out these fires. There's no lake nearby, no pond, nothing like that. And the fire just spread. And it just got worse and worse. And I thought, what am I going to do? I'm going to be in so much trouble. So there's only one thing I could do. No, I didn't. No, son. No, I didn't call for help. Right across the street there was a farm right across from the suburbs, and I noticed there was a horse there. And I ran across the street, and I just jumped on that horse. That horse didn't like it, son. No, that horse, it went wild, and I was trying to reel that horse in, but it wouldn't take me, and it just threw me. It just threw me off, and I landed in a whole ton of wet mud, and I was not pleased. I was not pleased at all. I don't like getting dirty. I don't like getting covered in mud, son. Anyone who knows me knows I don't like mud. I do not like mud at all. I wasn't going to be beaten by that horse. So I jumped back on that horse, and I stayed on until it accepted me. And it thrashed itself all over the place, thrashing around. It threw me a couple more times, but I just got back on again. And I held on tight for dear life, and eventually the horse settled down. And I just got that horse to jump over the fence, and it started to ride down the street with all the houses on fire around me. I just rode and rode right back down Main Street. I didn't tell anyone about the fire because I didn't want to get in trouble. So I just let that fire carry on. And I rode right out of town, son. I thought I'll never come back here again, son. I rode all the way back to my own town. By the time I got home, my horse was tired, and I thought, son, I own a horse now. What am I going to do? I actually own a horse. So I was going to buy myself a car soon, and I thought, who needs a car when you got a horse? Got my own damn horse. And I'm going to keep it out back. I'm going to keep my horse living out back in the garden yard type thing behind the bar. And I'll take it for a ride every day, because I'm not cruel, son of a bitch. I'm not going to make that horse just stay there by itself in the yard, just not having exercise. So I'm gonna ride that sucker every day. I'm gonna ride that up and down the street, all over town, in the woods, pretending like I'm a cowboy or something. And I'll give it nice food, and I'll give it some of my booze. So I know horses like booze. And then later that night, I went to sleep. And I thought, I survived a whole day of hell, and I deserve a nice whiskey. A nice whiskey and some hot milk. So I like to do that. I like to have whiskey and milk together, son. Mix them all around. I don't know if other people do that, but I like to do that. And I boiled up that milk and whiskey together, and I was drinking it down, son. And I raised a glass to my horse, and the horse went it. That's my best horse impression. And then I went up to bed, supping my whiskey milk, thinking, I feel content, having done a good deed today, rescuing that horse. And I was feeling kind of saintly, because I done a good thing, son. Because I don't think that horse was happy where it was living, so I done a good saintly act, which kind of erased all the bad I did. It kind of balanced the scales. And I was about to go to sleep, and hopefully have a damn night's dream. And I heard a noise downstairs. So I went downstairs, really slowly. So I thought some bitch has broken in again. Everyone keeps breaking into my bar. And who was it? It was one of the people from back home that followed me. And they just looked at me and they said, Hootwhistle, I know what you did. I saw what you did, son. I saw you set fire to all those houses. And I'm gonna drag you back home, son. And I'm gonna make sure you go down for arson. And spend the rest of your filthy life in prison, boy. I said, you son bitch. Don't you accuse me of such things. You know nothing, son. I said, son, I was never back home today. I haven't been back home for years, son. You come in my bar accuse me of this. How dare you? He said, you can't deny what you did, son. I was there, and I saw everything, and I filmed it. I got to hear my little camera, so I stored in the memory card. And I got film of everything you did today, son. You're not gonna get away with it. I'm gonna take you back, and I'm gonna give this little camera to the law. And I'm gonna make sure you go down, Hootwhistle. I said, you're not gonna do anything to me, son. And I grabbed that camera from him, and I threw it in the fire. And the fire was still burning. And I threw it straight in the fire, and it all melted. And he was just a little bit shocked. I said, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, son. That's the way it has to be. And then he got out a gun. I said, calm down, son. You don't need to get violent now. And then I just kind of elbowed him in the ribs, which he was a little shocked about. Then I ran out into my garden, and I realized there was actually no way out of there. And he came running after me. And I thought, this is it. I'm a dead man. He's gonna shoot me right between the eyes, and not a damn thing I can do. And all of a sudden, my horse, my brand new horse, he came running right out of the woodshed and went charging the bush in. And it went straight into him, and I thought he was gonna be killed, but he wasn't. No, he wasn't killed. Instead, he grabbed onto the reins of the horse, so I should have taken those reins off. I really should have taken those off tonight, but I'm just too damn lazy. Because I didn't, he held onto those reins, and I thought, goddamn, son, he's gonna jump on that horse, and he's just gonna ride off and go to the cops and tell them everything he saw today. But unfortunately, well, actually, fortunately for me, as he tried to get on, he kind of slipped, and then his foot got caught in the reins, and he was hanging off the side of the horse. And the horse, it just ran, and it just ran right through my bar, and it ran out into the street, smashed through the front doors of my bar, and into the street and went off. And I ran out afterward and I started going towards the woods. I thought, never gonna see that horse again, never gonna see him again. I don't know where that horse is gonna wind up. He's gonna keep running and running. That horse is kind of wild. I felt kind of sad because I really wanted to have a horse. I thought it would have been nice to ride around every day, and I felt a little sad. And about 2 hours later, after I consoled myself with whiskey, vodka, and gin, I was sitting by my fireside, smelling that strange smell as that camera's melted in the fire. All of a sudden, I heard these hooves. All of a sudden, I heard these hooves. I thought, oh my God, it's my horse. He's come back. Is that son of a bitch gonna be attached to him still? So I jumped up and I ran outside, and that son of a bitch wasn't there. Except his shoe. His shoe was still attached to the reins of that horse. So I don't know what happened to that son of a bitch. I never heard from him ever again, so I assume he's dead. I assume the horse must have killed him somehow. So I just jumped on that horse and I rode him back into the garden, and I gave him a nice apple and some nice whiskey in a bowl, because I know horses like to drink booze. And I just put a blanket on that horse, because I'm not a cruel son of a bitch. I wouldn't let that horse be out there in the cold. I gave him a blanket, because I like horses. And he just went to sleep, and I stroked his head, and he was happy. And I went back inside. I thought, it's been a really strange day, but now I got a horse now. So everything worked out fine in the end. I mean, the town may have burned. I know that the town may have burned down by now, probably all burned now. And everyone's dead, probably the whole town's dead. But the main thing is, I now have a horse, and the horse was saved. If I hadn't gone there today, that horse wouldn't be here now. It would have died in the fire. Because of me, that horse got to live. So that means the horse is blessed, because I, Nathaniel P Hoot-Whistle, came to town and rescued that horse from the flames. But I saved that horse. And now the horse lives with me.